Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. How is the rest of the XRP community out there? My fellow XRP community members, are you guys doing okay here? I know it's been a rough several days or so with what's been happening with the news surrounding Ripple and seeing the price action of XRP that has resulted because of all of this. But I'll share with you my humble opinion in terms of where I think this ultimately is going to lead. Particularly in terms of long-term viability of XRP, and including certainly on top of that Ripple's vision for the Internet of Value. And look, I don't have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, so definitely don't buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I just think it's fun to talk about these topics as a hobby, but I'm happy to share with you my opinion for why I am sleeping easy, and I think that all this news surrounding the SEC action against Ripple, I suspect, and look, I don't have a law background either, but I certainly suspect that in the end it's all going to wash out and be fine, and then life returns to normal. In the short term, going to be some scary times, I'm guessing. And by the way, I should mention this too. If you hear a cracking sound every now and then, you're actually hearing my pet peeve, which is my 6-year-old terrier mix. Yes, my pet peeve being the name because I'm freaking hilarious. She is chewing on a rawhide under the desk, and I decided I'm going to allow it because I think it's adorable that she wants to be next to me. So there we go. Before we go any further, though, if you would please ever so delicately tap the like button, I would appreciate the support. And also, if you are a fan of Ripple and XRP, you done came to the right spot, son. Go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambeau channel. Don't cost none. Look, so I'm going to cite right now. I don't want to forget this. My next couple of videos, I've already mapped out the content I want to record. It's enough that I got to break it out, which is typically the case. There's always too much to talk about. I'm going to be delving in a much greater detail in terms of what's going on with the SEC's lawsuit against Ripple and why I personally am not ultimately fearful in terms of what I think the outcome will be. In this video, I'm going to be more so talking about price. But that said, I do want to mention that the last several days, it's been, you've got the holiday and then you've got the weekend. Most businesses, not so much conducting business as a result. So in terms of the amount of news that's been coming out and the potential fallout for XRP in terms of trading and price action, whatever's going to be coming over the coming weeks, I don't know that we've seen most of that yet. You've seen some news come out, including Bitstamp halting trading as of January 8th for XRP within the United States specifically. Now, mind you, they're actually based out of the UK. They do have a United States-based location, so maybe that had something to do with it. But we haven't heard a decision from Coinbase and other major United States cryptocurrency exchanges. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that the price is where it is. It went down clearly. Immediately, there was a sell-off upon the SEC news. Then the rest of the altcoin market tanked the next day, bringing XRP down even further to its current level of 28.1 cents. And so here's the thing. And I've said this for years now, and I still firmly believe this. XRP, in a general sense, is following the price action of the rest of the market, with Bitcoin leading it. And it still is. But I've always cited that if there's major news, then for X amount of time, typically over a short period, it's going to dramatically negatively impact, or positively, depending on if it's good or bad news, whatever cryptocurrency is being discussed. And so in this case, that has happened. So what I wanted to share with you is my personal opinion that if we do see more fallout in terms of bad news, the market may respond to that, and so you could see XRP go lower. So basically, the market structures that chart analysts have been talking about, especially over the last weeks, it's been very interesting, like almost nothing but bullish short and medium-term sentiment, and long-term, fair enough, but even if we're just talking about the exciting short to medium-term, endless thoughts on why from a technical analysis perspective, things were going up. So I just want to warn you, if there's some negative news, don't be surprised if it goes down. Do whatever you want, buy or sell. I'm not going to tell you to do that. I'm never going to offer financial advice, but I will share with you that my calculus on all of this has not changed. And so even if we see some scary sounding news come out and people sell, I will not be participating in that, because ultimately, in terms of the long-term viability of XRP, it's going to come down to, well, certainly usefulness, but will XRP continue to be useful if, for instance, XRP were actually finally declared legally to be a security. Well, we're nowhere near, coming to a conclusion on that. So if there's short-term price action, that's not gonna affect me whatsoever. I'm looking for the final outcome, which I believe will come either in the form of a settlement, which would would have to be favorable, or else Ripple wouldn't agree to a settlement. Or if a settlement cannot be reached, then I'm just going to sit here and wait until however long it takes, even I don't care if it's over a year, however long it is, for the litigation to begin, ultimately play out and come to a final conclusion. And if it's not favorable, maybe things would get really messy, but I doubt. Now I'll explain why more in future videos, but I just wanted to at least share that, because I don't think we can have a reasonable conversation about price today, which is what the thrust of this video is, without at least me acknowledging that. But there are reasons that I personally cannot fathom the concept of XRP actually being labeled a security. And so what I'm going to do in all likelihood is, if we see some insanely low prices and it's based on a capitulation from bad news, I likely, depending on how low it gets, I likely will take advantage of that as a buying opportunity. And I get it. So investing in any crypto, including XRP, with the scary news, it's risky. And if I'm wrong about the direction I think this is all going to go, I've always been happy to admit, yeah, maybe I'm wrong, and not everything goes to zero while making a big boy decision on my own. And so if that happens, it happens. But I don't believe that's going to be the case. I'm Mr. XRP bull for a reason. It's not based on emotion. It's based on the way that I'm really just taking in everything that's happening within the market here. So let's acknowledge, first of all, we are in a bull market still. The macro trend for the market as a whole, absolutely in place. And there's some exciting stuff that could be coming down the pike as a result, despite what's happening in the short term with XRP. You can see Bitcoin, it's currently at Lifecoin Watch just updated, $27,046. And it actually got up to, within the last 24 hours, the high, which is an all-time high, by the way, $28,372.88. That is awesome. I am not a maximalist of any coin. I do hold Bitcoin. I want it to do well. I believe it will continue to do well indefinitely. Although, of course, it's pulling back a bit. And I'm going to share with you, there's another analyst a little bit later in the video that thinks, obviously, macro bull trend's still in place, but has articulated a case for a pullback that's kind of substantial for Bitcoin. And I'll be telling you, but he's thinking maybe even as low as like $19,000 could be in the cards. And look, it's crypto. If it sounds crazy, that's because it is, but that's what happens in crypto. It just does. Chart analyst Lub Crypto wrote the following: one helpful way of viewing the XRP monthly chart from a bullish perspective. See what I did there, winky face? Removed noise. Market structure still bullish, massive accumulation ongoing before the ultimate 30-cent resistance breakout. The bears want to see XRP below 23 cents soon. And look, yeah, so you could manipulate a chart like that, but I still think that in the short term, the news is going to reign supreme. If it's something that's truly substantial, which the SEC news obviously was, you would not be seeing XRP at this price otherwise. But if there's additional horrible news, there's going to be a major cratering again, I suspect, and then there will be a rebound, and then we'll see whatever the new low happens to be. I don't know what it would look like. I'm not a chart analyst. I don't want to be. I don't pretend to be. I really enjoy more so researching the fundamentals, but it is nonetheless fun to track all of this stuff. I do enjoy it as a hobby, but news rang supreme. But still, I wanted to highlight this. First of all, I appreciate diversity of thought. Second of all, he's one of a number of analysts that are saying, here's the level to look out for, in terms of resistance/support, and it's about 30 cents. And you can see here's what Lub Crypto wrote today for regarding the XRP price action, right? I really only have two questions for this week, and what a critical last week of 2020 it is for XRP. Number one, will the 200 daily moving average hold, currently flirting with it as support, which is the red line on his chart there. Number two, will December 31st close above 30 cents? So that's the level that I keep hearing from analysts to watch for. It's not just Lub Crypto. I was watching a video from Blockchain Backer earlier, and he said 30 and a half cents, but we're splitting hairs at that point. Okay, so 30 cents, 30 and a half cents, somewhere thereabouts. That's what we need to see. If there's a closing below that, it could spell a direction of a downward, like a new downward trend, at least in the short term. And to be clear, this is even outside of any additional news. That's what they're saying. If there is additional negative news, even if this happens, if the news comes after that, it could potentially look even worse. But again, to me, I'm just going to sit here and hold, because to me, it's the concept of lemmings following one another off a cliff, it remains true here, because the lemmings off a cliff here, if that happens, if more people capitulate, even if there's legitimate bad news about liquidity drying up because XRP, let's just say it's delisted from Coinbase, even if something like that happens, those people emotionally responding, that is not an indication of the long-term viability of XRP. It is not an indication of whether or not the SEC suit is going to go in the favor of Ripple or not. That has nothing to do with it. That's people responding to scary-sounding news, and admittedly, it's scary-sounding news, fine, but that's still an emotional response which has no bearing on the final outcome of all this. And so I'm not going to participate, which is why I keep saying my calculus for what am I considering, and I'll go into greater depth in future videos, but it's not going to be me following what the other people are doing. I'm never going to see people getting scared and selling and then follow suit. I just will not do it. Now, if I really did think from a fundamental perspective we're in serious trouble, I would be screaming it from the rooftops. That's my promise to you. I think that you deserve that. Because look, I appreciate the fact that everyone, and my channel just keeps growing like crazy. I can't tell you how much I genuinely appreciate that. And so this is never going to be a fluff or hype channel. I'm just going to shoot straight with you, the good and the bad. And I'm still Mr. XRP Bull for a reason. It's because there's way more positive than negative. And again, so getting back to this idea that we're still in a bull market regardless of what happens with the short-term price action of perhaps Bitcoin going down further or XRP getting some scary news and tanking a bit, regardless of that, we're still in a bull market for the asset class. Here's a headline from the Daily Hodl. Crypto analyst Michael Vandepop says Bitcoin poised to hit $40,000 predicts incoming altcoin boom. And I can't find an analyst that doesn't think there's going to be a major alt cycle very, very, very soon. And I can only highlight so many of the analysts that I follow in a video, or else it's just too much and it gets too repetitious. But I always want to share at least a few opinions from a few different chart analysts. Prominent crypto strategist and trader Michael Vandepop says Bitcoin is gearing up for a run to $40,000 as it continues to register new all-time highs. In a new tweet, Vandepop tells his 91,700 followers that Bitcoin can post gains of over 50% as it trades around $27,000. And here's a quote. Bitcoin breaking upwards even more as it's approaching my second Fibonacci point of interest around $25,800. The higher we go, the higher the next impulse move will bring us. If $25,800 is this temporary top, next impulse could bring Bitcoin towards $40,000 plus. Now, the trader also points out why the current Bitcoin bull cycle is different from the one it had 3 years ago. And here's another quote. Bitcoin above $26,000, while the retail hype is not even close to the previous all-time high at $19,700 in 2017. Bull market. And that's a valid point. We already know that, I think it's provably so, that what we've seen in terms of positive price action for 2020 has been led by institutional money coming in, whereas what we saw in 2017 was led by retailers. Now, institutions have way more money, and so that's why I've been saying for years, wait for the real money to come in, all right? And you'll see an increased retail adoption. They'll come along the way, but we're still here first. We're still here super duper early. Now, piece continues. Although Vandepop is bullish on the leading cryptocurrency, he issues a warning to his followers that Bitcoin can ignite a strong move down. And here's another quote. Vertical moves often end in a swift correction. Remember summer 2019? Those swift corrections are made for the establishment of a sideways range. Don't get chopped out of a correction. The bull market will last for a longer period, have a longer horizon. Now, as for altcoins, Vandepop says that it is only a matter of time before market participants rotate their Bitcoin profits into other digital assets. And that's something that I've just been highlighting here. Like, you don't have to be a chart analyst to like, if you have eyeballs and just look at a few charts, like, I'm nowhere near being an expert and I don't want to learn. In fact, the more I learn about it, I just wish that would get out of my head so I had more space for fundamental stuff, right? I'm joking a little bit, but I'm just saying it's super simple to understand some of these things. There is a rotation, and people get shaken out of the market when they don't understand this stuff. Something starts going down. Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. Emotion, sell. Okay. You do you, girl. I ain't gonna do it. Anyway, the trader highlights that altcoins are currently establishing a bottom in preparation for a big move early next year. And here's the quote. I'm expecting altcoins Q1 2021 bottoming in this period. And this is something that I keep hearing from chart analysts again and again and again, especially over the last week or so, is this expectation that you will at some point see a cycle. And even if they somewhat disagree on exactly when that's going to be, fine. They still think the same trend is in place, and they understand that there's this rotation of Bitcoin money and flowing into altcoins. It just happens. It's part of the circle of life, my friends. And so here's another analyst. I'm going to be brief with this. This is from, I think it was Dennis Surachuk. That's why Dennis Surachuk with Crypto Comes. And he also acknowledged here, although he seems to not be that certain of the direction, but he keeps citing the importance of this 30-cent level. He is as well. And he says, if it's below, you could see support. And this is the most bearish I could find, so I'm just going to share it with you. But there are many other bullish, expectations if we go in the other direction. But if ends up below 30 cents on the weekly chart, and mind you, by the way, like the end of the year, that's another time frame that, for instance, Blockchain Backwards talking about. But if you end up below that, he's saying potentially as low as 11 cents, and that's without bad news. Now, I'm not saying that there will be bad news. I'm not saying that I buy into this 11-cent thing even without news. I'm just sharing with you various opinions, but they all still agree that roughly 30-cent level, and acknowledge there's an opportunity to the upside. They all certainly do. It kind of just depends on where you're going to see this close out for the year in particular here. All right, next. So here's a headline from Bitcoinist. Analyst, Bitcoin rally is losing steam as key factors forecast a drop. And so one of the analysts that they were talking about within this piece is a very popular individual named Pentoshi, who wrote the following. It reads as follows. I do think the market is nearing a top for Bitcoin. Early warning signs for me are the duration of each consolidation getting shorter, with the rallies themselves being shorter. I wouldn't be surprised to see a 30% correction in the next 4 to 5 weeks at some point towards $19,000 to $20,000. And so if that does happen, this is the type of action where so here's another individual talking about it, but all sorts of analysts are saying, okay, if this happens, this would probably be the point where you would start to see altcoins pump, perhaps the beginning of an actual alt cycle. And it's been interesting, so even though alts are up, for the year, generally speaking, nobody seems to want to call what's happened to this point an alt cycle, and that's fascinating to me. It's fine. They want to see it go more parabolic. And I don't know what the litmus test is for that. People seem to have different opinions on what qualifies as an alt season, and there's not like there's some sort of central authority dictating, no, this is alt season, meet these parameters. So it's subjective. But it's just interesting to me that people don't call what has happened in 2020 an alt season, but generally speaking, it's up and up and up, and XRP would not be where it is. It'd be much higher if not for this news. So it was part of it, just the news bashed it back on down. But, there are certainly people that have bought up the fear of the individuals that decided to sell it, and that's fine. If you think that this is bad or going to zero or no longer have confidence, if you want to sell, I don't think less of you at all. I get the fear. I totally understand it. It's your money. It's skin in the game. I'm never going to think someone's an idiot for doing what they believe to be right. I'm just sharing with you that that's not how I particularly am behaving. And again, I've got real money in this, and I'm sleeping easy. And it's because of the direction I think that this is all going to go. In fact, if anything, and I'll talk about it more in a future video because I should be wrapping this one up, but I'll share with you that once we do have regulatory clarity, and assuming it does go in the favor of Ripple, holy hell, that's a major shadow that's just going to be lifted for XRP and really the whole crypto space. I think it'll add clarity and precedent for the entire space. But that's going to be, oh my gosh, it could be like rocket fuel for Ripple and XRP in terms of actual adoption, because we do know that with this hanging over the head, or this lack of uncertainty in particular, even before the suit, that there are all sorts of entities in the United States that have not moved forward with on-demand liquidity, which of course utilizes XRP as a bridge currency. So we just need time to let it all flesh out, and if it's too scary, I don't blame if you want to sell. But I'm going to be hanging out. I'm going to be here. Don't worry, your moon Lambo ain't going nowhere. All right, I am not going to be shaken out of this market. And unless this actually, where everything completely falls apart and goes to hell, fine. But even then, I'm still not selling. I will ride this mofo to zero if need be. I just don't believe that's what's going to happen. But that's where we are. So anyway, thank you very much for stopping by. And again, I truly am sympathetic, because I know there are a ton of scared people out there, as evidenced by the price action we've seen. And I get the fear, especially when there's something from a fundamental perspective that's happening like this. And so just know that you're not the only one. We're all in this together. and I'm still fully confident that it's going to turn out well in the end. I'll be speaking about that more in future videos, but that is it for this latest Moon Lambo hot jam. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Lambo!